Hey guys, I hope you're doing really well out there in the YouTube world. I have decided that I'm going to be doing more educational videos about my disability and talk about things that come up in my life. For example, I was just contacted by another transgender who has Klinefelter syndrome, and I want to try and put not all transgenders, but some transgenders. I want to see if, you know, maybe they have Klinefelter syndrome, 47XXY Klinefelter syndrome, and the reason that that they are feeling the way they do is because they're not diagnosed with Klinefelter syndrome. You know, they feel like they're more of a woman than they are a man. I've found my niche. My niche is my disability. So, I want to talk more about my disability. Okay, so this is where I've always got myself into trouble with other people who have watched my videos and also have Klinefelter syndrome. I'm not talking clinically. I'm talking about myself. My experience with Klinefelter syndrome. I'm not talking about your experience with Klinefelter syndrome. I'm talking about mine. And the way I deal with Klinefelters. I keep on getting people who have Klinefelters and want to fight me and say that I'm wrong. You know? And it's like, how dare you tell me the way I'm meant to live with Klinefelter syndrome? Like, come on, man. So, this next document, I won't be reading it out. I found this program that's quite cool. It doesn't say all the words correctly, but it's better than me trying to pronounce those big ass words. And then it's also gets away from the trolls saying, "What, you can't say that word?" It's because I have Klinefelter syndrome, I have a disability, and sometimes there is words that I cannot just say out loud because they are massive and just, I have a learning disability. I'm not a very good reader, so, and that's the reason I don't read. So, I'm gonna have this program read it out for me. Just wanted to say that this website that I found and is from transchristians.org, and it's Intersex Conditions. So it's all about, well, it's part of the LGBTIQ or LGBTQI, or however you want to say it, community. The intersex part of that is what I am. I'm part of the intersex part of the LGBTIQ or QI, whatever. So, and I voted yes here in Australia for gay marriage. Same-sex marriage, equality, I voted yes. So I just wanted to say that, and then put you guys onto the... Actually, Serena, take it away.
Intersex Conditions. Adapted from the chapter, Sex and Intersex. Intersex describes many different ways in which sex development goes wrong. Where sex manifests in genes, hormones, primary sex characteristics, and secondary sex characters, variation in sex occurs in all these areas too. Because sex and gender are different, an intersex person is not necessarily transgender. Intersex advocates are quick to point out that intersex does not fit under the transgender umbrella, as gender identities like transsexual and genderqueer I agree wholeheartedly because intersex refers to sex and not gender, and because transgender is a voluntary group and we don't force people to join. Intersex people were formerly referred to as hermaphrodites but is now depreciated for being derogatory and clinically problematic. To get an idea of the diversity, here are some of the more common intersex conditions. For more detail, I recommend the Intersex Society of North America and their website www.eisner.org. Klinefelter's syndromes XI. The most common intersex case is Klinefelter's syndrome, where the karyotype is XI, affecting 1 in every 500 people. A cell will only permit one X chromosome to be active and the other X is deactivated, and is part of normal functioning in XX cells. In Klinefelter cases, the same process happens which minimizes effects. In the same category is the karyotype XXXY, where 2 X's are deactivated. Thus, Klinefelter patients look almost exactly like people with an XY karyotype male. The only significant effect is being sterile, but the additional X creates some relatively minor effects. They usually identify as male and some identify as transgender. Turner syndrome XO. Turner syndrome is similar to Klinefelter's but features a karyotype with 1 too few chromosomes instead of 1 too many. Affected people have only 1 X chromosome and no Y chromosome, written as XO. They are phenotypical females. 1 in 50 every conceptions have Turner syndrome, but only 2% survive pregnancy. www.eisner.org/fac/conditions/Turner again, because of regular X inactivation. The person is able to live without great effects after birth. Mosaicism. Typically, every cell in a single body except the gametes have identical genes. Mosaicism is a case where this does not happen. Mosaicism is not always intersex, only when the cells have differing karyotypes. A person may be literally any combination of XX, XY, XO, XI, etc. Likewise, its affects come in every possibility. Mosaicism is notoriously difficult to measure because, if present, performing a karyotype test will yield different results depending on which part of the body is tested. For example, someone with XXXY mosaicism with 99% XX cells would need statistically 100 tests before finding an XY cell. It is therefore impossible to measure incidence. Joseph Kirchner is an X-trans poster child turned genderqueer who is XYXO. One type of mosaicism is mixed gonadal dysgenesis, where the gonads are radically different. One may be an ovary and the other a test, or one may be an ovotest, a gonad with some ovarian cells and some testicular cells. Congenital adrenal hyperplasia occur. Commonly called CA, congenital adrenal hyperplasia occurs in XX karyotypes where an abnormally high amount of masculine hormones are present. The levels of hormones differ from person to person, but their genitals and gonads react to the hormones the same way as males. The genital tubercle is larger than typical clitorises and may be as large as a penis, and or the labia may resemble a scrotum and sometimes even seal the vagina. This is called ambiguous genitalia. They may also have increased body hair, malformed ovum leading to infertility, and may be mistaken for boys. In all cases there are serious health risks. 10% of intersex people with CA identify as transgender. Pediatrics Volume 180 number. The 2nd of August 2006, pp. 753-757 as seen on http pediatrics publications org CGI content full 1182-753. Androgen insensitivity syndrome ICE. ICE occurs in XY karyotypes with a genetic condition which disables the body from reacting to androgens. They have partially formed and undescended testes and a small vagina but are otherwise phenotypically female. Lacking ovaries, they are infertile and do not menstruate. ICE occurs in 1 in 10,000 XY karyotypes. Their gender identity is always female. By always I mean I have never heard of a male or trans-identified ICE patient, and intersex organizations like Eisner say the same. A variant of ICE is partial ICE PAs, where the body only partly reacts to androgens. This can cause ambiguous genitalia or non-intersex male infertility. People with PAs may identify as male or female. There are other intersex conditions with the same effects of ICE but different cause, where the SRY gene is absent or mutated and unable to function. 5 odd. 5-alpha reductase deficiency is a problem in XY karyotypes where the androgen DHT is not created. The genitals of such a person can be typically male, typically female, or anywhere in between. Being a genetically inherited trait, the incidence varies. In the Dominican Republic it exists in 1 in 90 males. Most people identify as female, with a few identifying as male and a few as bigender or genderqueer. Genital malformation. Various simpler intersex conditions exist where everything is normal except that the genitals display a single abnormality. These include a very small penis micropenis, a very large clitoris clitoromegaly, the absence of either a clitoris or penisophilia, or hypospadias. Hypospadias affects males in whom the urethra has not moved to the tip of the penis and is somewhere in between the tip of the penis and its original location between the labia which have formed into the scrotum. Tot. Note I simplified some data. Regarding genitals, any includes penis and scrotum, clitoris and vagina, or ambiguous. Regarding gonads, any includes ovaries, testes, or ovotestes. Regarding second sex characteristics, any includes traditional female, traditional male, or anywhere in between. Regarding gender identity, any includes women, men, genderqueer or bigender. Of course, any intersex person may have a genderqueer or bigender identity. The only identities listed are the most common. Prevalence based on a global population of 6.5 billion people.
Hey guys, so I hope that was enough information and enough information heard, even though you can still read it as she's saying or trying to pronounce XXY. However she says it, and some of the other words that she tried to pronounce was quite funny. Like mosaicism. Like, it's really hard to pronounce, so she was saying it differently. But I always use Serena. She's from the UK. I find that she says the words better than the others do. The American women kind of sounded very rough, like, as in, like, not more like, I don't know, it's too much of a strong accent. The UK accent is probably the best for medical terms and stuff like that. Anyway, thanks for watching. You know what to do. Hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. I will subscribe back to you. And I want to give a big shout out to my transgender Kleinfelders out there. You're not alone. There are other transgender Kleinfelders I know, and I'm a Kleinfelder male, never going to be transgender, but I do know what you're talking about when you feel like a little bit more feminine than most men. I do understand that, because when I'm drunk, oh man, the feminine side comes out of me, like, anyway, on that note, I will see you guys soon for another Kleinfelders or other syndromes that are similar to Kleinfelders or intersex video. Bye.